I'm David from Leica Photography, and today we're trying out the Lumix 25mm Summilux DG f1.4 micro 4/3 lens. Now, right off the bat, this lens comes with a pretty deep lens hood. It's very light. It does feel like it's made out of metal instead of plastic. The lens hood is just a twist mount, and it has 46mm threads on it. And you know, a lot of times what I do is I use a thread adapter, and I go from 46 to 52 and get all my lenses on the same threading. That way I can use one filter and step-up rings on each lens. Just makes it cheaper that way, but that's just a quick little tip. Anyway, let's try this out and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and cycle this through, and let's see how well this lens does. Okay, so this was at Tempe Center of the Arts. This is shot at f1.4, and this is at 16 megapixel. Now, overall, it's a pretty good image for being at f1.4 for trying to do a landscape. Usually 1.4 lenses fall apart here, but this one actually, you know, it held up pretty good. Now, in terms of 35mm, this would be equivalent of f2.8. Skip ahead here to f2.8. Very sharp. You know, this is actually starting to really shine. And at f2.8, this thing actually has 3100 lines of resolution in the center. Now, towards the corners, it has a tendency to get a little soft. Let's go to the extreme corners here. You can see just a little bit of movement. Overall, though, you know, it looks really pretty good. And this is at f2.8, and again, I'm focused in up here. So, you know, I'm liking the way that this looks. Okay, f5.6. Now, this is where the lens is supposed to really shine as far as being at its sharpest point. Now, it's actually sharpest at f4, but the corners, this is where it catches up at f5.6. And you can see the leaves on the outside edges look really good. Very little chromatic aberrations, if at all. You know, just a very solid looking capture here. I don't see any issues with this at all. It's just very sharp, very nice looking photo. Alright, so 47, this is at f8. And right off the bat, I noticed that back here, these cactus in the background, compared to the last one, if we look in the same spot, they seem to be getting a little softer. And this is right at f8. Now, this lens is going to peak out at f5.6 and then start reversing itself and getting softer at f8. Now, the other thing is I can bounce ahead one more time here to f16. And at f16, it's just kind of soft. But let's check out high-res mode. Now, high-res mode is a little different. I was actually kind of surprised by this part right here, so let me pull this up. Now, high-res on the Olympus EM5 Mark II, if you do shoot in RAW, will give you a 64 megapixel RAW, and that kind of shows you every flaw with the glass that there is. And wide open, yeah, this isn't all that great. I still like it. I mean, I actually think it looks okay. There's a little bit of ghosting. You can see we had a tree moving, so we've got some banding going on right here. That doesn't help with the sharpness at all, but we've got some ghosting, some chromatic aberrations happening. Now let's bounce ahead here. So this one, this is f4. Now at f4, this is where the lens really starts to shine. And on high-res mode, and if you look at the buildings in the background, no chromatic aberrations, no halo effect. The only problem is, when we bounce ahead here, bounce one more, in high-res mode, it stops at f8, and we can't shoot past f8. So this is as far as we get, but f8 is like f16 on a full-frame camera, and now everything's in focus. what's in the foreground all the way to the background. So, you know, overall, really pretty good. Just wide open, it's got a little bit of ghosting. Now, one thing I didn't show you is I shot a couple of people last week. I forgot to bring the files, sorry about that. But shooting people with it wide open has a very nice bokeh. I do like that. Now, this does have a 6-bladed aperture, so it's not really the smoothest bokeh on the planet, but it's pretty good. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was this right here. Let me pull this up. Now, this is PhotoZone.de's review of this lens, and I forgot to capture this while I was out. But if we mouse over this, that's the amount of barrel distortion that we're getting off of this lens. It's 3%, and that's actually kind of high. The Olympus 25mm 1.8 is only at 0.5%, so you know it's got a little bit of a fisheye effect. Now, this of course is fixed in camera calibration and post-process RAW. You know, it's a very minor thing, but 3% is kind of actually what I expected for a lens of f1.4. And this is the fastest autofocus lens that you can get for 4/3. Now, Voigtlander makes a manual focus that's f.95, so you know there's always that option. Okay, now one thing that you have to understand is, you know, this says Leica, but it's not really a Leica lens. Really, it's a Panasonic lens with a Leica name on it. The hood looks like a Leica, but you know, not necessarily. I mean, realistically, I've shot a lot of Leica R stuff in the past, and this is nothing like any of those. But overall, this is just a really good 25mm lens that has a nice bokeh when shot wide open. As you can see from the different images, you know, it really does have a nice bokeh blur. It's a little soft on the corners, but you know, overall it's pretty good. I really like this lens. I mean, I'm going to have to get one. This one I actually just borrowed from Tempe Camera here just to try out, which is the reason why I didn't do our Happy Fun Pet Time at the end, because it's not at my house. But anyway, overall the lens is really nice. I'm going to have to dive on one of these. So anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and otherwise we'll talk to you guys later. You have a good day.